just hold your thoughts. We need to take a quick break. When we'll come back, we'll look at how moving forward. Don't go away. Welcome back. Our closing moments before we bring back Mr. Ubani for his own closing moment. Let's go to Abuja. Ms. Abeltina, can you just, you've done the study 5 years and the reports come out covering 2 years. What do you suggest as the way forward?
Yeah, I think what is very important to keep in mind, this report is on bribery between the public sector and the citizens. We are not talking about the large-scale corruption cases that, were just mentioned, and we are not talking about, the response that maybe agencies are giving. When we look at the report, we very clearly see that some action have to be taken to increase the oversight in the public sectors so that corruption doesn't happen. We also have to increase the sense of integrity among the public officials, also to prevent that corruption does not happen. Very often we talk about better technological solutions such as e-governance, so that we have cashless payments, which can also reduce the interface between the public servant and the citizen, and so that there is no opportunity to pay the cash. But I think the most important thing is the change of the mindset. Many institutions already have codes of conduct that they could be implementing. They have them, but very often they do not implement them. So it is up to the institutions to make sure that these code of conducts are also implemented, and those who don't implement it, that they also receive some disciplinary measure. I also think that mass campaigns, education for the youth or for the entire population is very important to understand the importance of accountability and transparency in general and in public systems, so that we prepare the future generations also for a corruption-free Nigeria. And we have worked in that direction, preparing anti-corruption prevention, corruption prevention manuals, for example, for the academy. Nigeria has very strong institutions. The legal frameworks are there. The institutional frameworks are there. So I think it's really a question to go together through the findings of the report and with each institution to decide what is the best way forward.
All right, thank you. Mr. Moshood, the interaction between the police and the public is very, very vital, and it's a practical, everyday matter. So the report is there. You say the police institution has rejected it, but what do we do going forward? How do we end this back and forth? Mr. Moshood, are you there?
Honestly, yes, I'm there, but I virtually can't hear your question. But to respond to Mr. Ubani in Lagos, I want people to know that Nigerian police have done a lot in fighting corruption within the force and outside the force equally, and we are building on this game, and we are not going to relent. We've keyed into the arrangement of the federal government to ensure that corrupt officers are shown the way out. Then after that, from Mr. Ubani, you can see the incident he quoted was an incident of perception of what his brother told him. We don't actually know what actually transpired between that his brother and the policeman at the station. But that does not mean that we shouldn't go further to investigate what has happened, because if a policeman is alleged of certain thing, nobody going to find out whether it is true or not. Everybody jump to conclusion. Whereas as regard other government agencies, some of the say, okay, let us go and find out. So those are the areas that the Inspector General of Police is concentrating in changing the perception of the force, especially in fighting corruption. The Nigerian police don't condone corruption at all, and the Inspector General of Police, when he came on board, he declared his asset and directed all officers of the force to equally declare their asset to ensure that there's transparency and there's a lead by example. So as we speak, the position of corruption in the force, the force are first corruption to the BRS in the force, and you don't have incidences of policemen asking for money before the right statement, right? Where you have such complaint, the police complaint response, public complaint rapid response unit is there, the police escort is there. They are equally at all the state commands and all the police division out of country where people can get across. We have made accessibility much more easier for people to. And in the standpoint from this report is that the committee set up by the Inspector General of Police to meet with the UNODC and the National Bureau of Statistics will start their work in earnest to ensure that we come up with a framework and to come up with an instrument to ensure that
Thank you, Mr. Moshood, for your closing statement. Now, Mr. Bani, the way forward.
Yes. I think we must come to the level where we know what is wrong and what is right. We don't have that idea in Nigeria, then we run into a problem. And if we know that asking for a bribe before you do your official duty is wrong, then all the agencies must have a supervisory, maybe, a person that must, receive the complaint of Nigerians. And whosoever report any person that is asking for a bribe before he does his or her job must be commended. We must begin to the way with the whistleblowing policy, in corruption. Now, if anyone asks for a bribe and he reports, that person must be commended rather than being punished and all that. We must begin to sanitize all government agents, both the private and public sector. Nobody should demand for something before he does what he's being paid for. An official job. Why must you ask me to pay you money before you do your official job? So let's now begin to now classify it as something that is wrong. With that sense and knowledge that this is wrong, then I tell you that we now begin to report. Okay. And then when there is punishment, I tell you that we begin to eliminate bribery and corruption from that angle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Onyekachi Ubani, Second Vice President of the Nigerian Bar Association. And we also had guests who joined us from Abuja, the country representative of UNODC, Christina Albertine, as well as the Force Public Relations Officer, Mr. Jimoh Moshood. Thank you all very much for coming to look at this all-important matter and report with us this morning. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation. See you soon.